A clash of two empires at the edge of the world. A meeting of two completely different peoples with their own ideologies and ideas. A collision of two fabled armies, representations of the wealth and power of their home nations. All those lines describe one absurdly momentous occasion in history, that of the Battle of Talas. In that Central Asian river valley, the forces of the two greatest contemporary empires of Asia, Tang Dynasty China and the Abbasid Caliphate, came into contact and subsequent bloody conflict for the first time. This documentary aims to explore and visualize the clash of those two different brands of Eastern imperialism and rule from the accounts of both those mighty empires, displaying the influence that differing culture and the distortion of time can have on our renditions of the tales of history. Let us first delve into the Chinese account of this battle, with a graphic visualization of the events that occurred through those 5 important days. The armies of the Tang Dynasty and of the Abbasid Caliphate, each seeking to control the lucrative Silk Road trade routes, come into first contact with each other along the banks of the Talas River, and a violent altercation soon ensues, with both sides quickly recognizing the other for an alien force. The Abbasid archers, with their compound bows and superior range, send a volley of arrows towards the Tang army, and their Tang counterparts respond with a powerful volley of their own. The day ends with both armies setting up camp along the banks of the river, shielded from each other by the natural terrain of the region. As dawn breaks over the riverline battlefield, the archers of the Abbasid army, defeated by the powerful compound bows of their Chinese counterparts, retreat behind the Abbasid footmen, who, with their spears, cross the river to the Chinese camp and engage in hand-on-hand combat. The Chinese footmen, with their superior weaponry, armoring, and tactics, manage to resist the Abbasid advance, and the Abbasid footmen soon rout and flee back to the other side of the river. In a stratagem born out of desperation of losing many of their best footmen and archers, the Abbasids send their cavalry through the mountain passes and behind the Tang forces, with a mission of flanking the Tang army and engaging them from 2 sides. However, the Abbasid cavalry soon encountered the Tang dynasty's allies in the Karluks guarding the pass, and the 2 sides clash, with the Abbasid cavalry being unable to overpower the tactically superior and experienced Karluks. Unable to break the stalemate in the mountain pass, and suffering heavy attritional and moral damage from lack of supplies, the Abbasid army is about to mount a retreat back to their Iranian territories. Just as the Abbasids are about to mount the retreat, however, the Karluk cavalry used as mercenaries by the Tang, for unclear reasons, suddenly turn on them, and the combined Abbasid-Karluk cavalry quickly manage to surround and pierce the Tang line. The main Abbasid army advances over the riverline and joins the engagement, with the Tang being defeated. Whatever is left of the Tang army, a few hundred to 1,000 footmen, flee the battlefield in shambles, completely demolished by the unexpected betrayal of the Karluks. The Abbasid forces have won the Battle of Talas. The Chinese account is only half the story. There is another account to this battle, the Abbasid account of the Battle of Talas. The Abbasid and Tang armies come into contact along the Talas River, staring at alien forces from across the water. The Abbasids wield a strong army of archers, spear-carrying footmen, and the newly recruited local Karluk cavalry mercenaries, while the Tang wield a tactically and range-wise superior force consisting mainly of a compound bow utilizing archer contingent, with footmen to accompany them. The first day sees both forces trying to study the other and plan out the battle, and both sides patiently wait along the river line, with minor range skirmishes here and there. The second day is in many ways a continuation of the first, with both sides not moving. Small-scale infantry skirmishes and raids take place, with small Abbasid contingents moving across the water to strike at Tang lines, not being very successful. The third day also features much of the same action of the second day, with minor skirmishes taking place up and down the battle lines. After dusk, in the cover of darkness, The Abbasid force amassed into organized and coherent groups and began to advance across the river, the Karluks leading. At daybreak, the Abbasid contingent, led by their Karluk cavalry, smashes into Tang lines, catching the Tang completely off their guard. The Tang line is not able to organize into a coherent fighting force quick enough, and the Tang line is pierced, with footmen filing in the gaps left by the Karluk riders. Small groups attempt to resist the Abbasids, but fail due to not being able to break out of their encircled pockets. Tang soldiers that can flee the battlefield begin to do so, but many are cut down by the Karluks advancing in front of them. The few hundred footmen and archers that remain of the Tang army flee into the mountains, heading for the nearest army outpost or village. Most make it out alive, but leave behind thousands of their dead comrades. The Battle of Talas ends with the decisive Abbasid victory. The Battle of Talas was a clash of two completely different worlds, and those respective worlds were reflected in the composition and tactics of the two armies, with the Tang army being more of a ranged force, while the Abbasids employed some of the nomadic cavalry that had enabled them to conquer much of the Middle East and Persia to devastating effect. The conflicting portrayals of the first several days of battle also serve to illustrate the influence history, time, and different viewpoints can have on the knowledge of a historical event.